Hey, Michelle, happy Tuesday to you.
Hi, Josh. Happy Tuesday.
It's kind of a cool day here
It
on the
is.
Mile High campus.
Mhm.
And how are you doing today?
I'm good. I was just noticing I have a little stuffy nose sinusy thing going on, but otherwise I'm good. It's good to be
Okay.
here. How about
Well,
you?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, we've
Yeah.
had some interesting flus and sinus
Yeah.
infections go through the house, but I don't tend to get them. So I wonder if I'm like
Oh,
the carrier or
you're
something.
super immune man.
Uh, I'll take it. I'll take it. But it's so good to be here with you and so grateful to have folks listening to us today. It's been fun to embrace spiritual practice as a
Yes.
initiative at Mile High this
Hmm.
year. And, there are all sorts of spiritual practices, but sometimes people want to know, gosh, what does Dr. Michelle do as her daily
Mm.
practice? What does Reverend Josh do? And so I thought we'd, just talk about our own daily practices a little bit and then wrap up by sharing about things going on in our spiritual community that we're excited about.
Good. I like that. I bet it's an interesting challenge for you, and maybe I'm just projecting this to get your practice in when you have a little one at home. That was
I've had to adjust it, and I do
yeah.
say about spiritual practice for me that it's I really feel it's the most important thing that I do
Hmm.
every day, and even in a more metaphysical sense, I sometimes call it the only thing I do
Hmm.
because it's the tone that's set in that spiritual practice that sets the tone for the rest of the day.
Hmm.
And whether I'm responsive or reacting, I know at some level how I'm showing up is based upon what I accomplished at that time. But yes, I had a little office when we first got here, and that went away quickly. And so I have learned to have several different meditation spots
Good.
and how to meditate with Nancy June. Sometimes she
Yeah.
gets engaged, which is great too. But I've also learned that there's such thing as a 5-minute spiritual practice to get it in there. And,
Yeah.
for me, as soon as I wake up, ideally, the coffee's on,
Hmm.
and on a perfect day, a quick shower. But I always have my tools for my spiritual practice, and it's a cup of coffee, just black coffee, a spiritual book of some sort, and a place to sit.
Hmm.
And if I can have those three things, I'm in gear. And the coffee, and it said actually that the Sufis kind of popularized coffee
Yes, that's
because it
right.
heightened their awareness. So there's
Hmm.
something about the bitterness that reminds me of this aspect of meditation, that it's just about appreciating where I am and having that early morning first cup, the smell, it engages the senses, and it just allows me to come present in a
Hmm.
powerful way. And, my meditation, depending on how much time I have, can be 3 minutes. It could be 15 minutes, but it's never usually longer
Hmm.
than that. And then I like to put the book. I put the coffee down and grab my spiritual book, this thing called You,
Hmm. Hmm.
Shunryu Suzuki's Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, the Tao Te Ching, a kind of book where you can flip to every page, any page
Hmm.
that you want in that moment, and get something of value. It's not something that I read for intellectual stimulation, but just to call me present and appreciate. And so I love to
Hmm.
read for a couple minutes, and then I'll take that into quiet for a little bit, and then just go into my prayer work. And for me, that prayer work involves, setting my conscious tone and anchor for how I want to show up in the day. It almost always includes my immediate family, people who've requested prayer for me, but I also like to kind of leave it open and just kind of spend some time. And gosh, maybe you will come to mind, maybe baby Nico will come to mind, and I'll just send love and light, and it's wonderful because not only to me is prayer kind of seeing clearly and truly, but it's also a great opportunity to just have me think about what's most important, which is
Sure.
people I love and care about. And so I usually wrap that up some sort of message or affirmation. Sometimes I'm using something as a ongoing affirmation that I'll continue to repeat for myself. And then I'm ready to go. On a wonderful day, an extra special day, I'll write.
Oh,
Uh,
very good.
and
Yes.
that's a great spiritual practice for me. But
Hmm.
usually it's off to work or off to chasing Nancy June and off to the busyness of the day. So
Hmm.
that's what my daily practice
Mm.
looks like. How about for you?
That's great. Well, what I love about what you're saying too is that I just did a workshop here a couple weeks ago on spiritual practice, and we all came up with in the workshop a kind of a group conclusion that you can make anything spiritual practice if you do it right. Washing the dishes, or being rocking your baby, or taking a walk or a run, because you are a runner. So do you ever feel when you run, do you feel that, I know you asked me, but I'm just curious, do you feel that sense of spiritual reflection when you run also?
Yeah, it depends. For me, there's always the traditional spiritual practices, the
Yes.
prayer, the meditation,
Right.
the
Me too.
forgiveness, but
Yeah.
then there's the secular, going out for a
Right.
run, washing the dishes. And
Yeah.
so for me, anything that's done with reverence. So when I have
Exactly.
reverence for it, then absolutely. But if I'm just, going through the iPod
Yeah.
and whatever it is, then no. So it really demands that willingness to be present and to have reverence for what's sacred to me.
Yeah. So what I talked about in the workshop for my practice is that my days are different almost every day. Like my schedule isn't very consistent. During the week, it's fairly consistent. And my favorite way to start the day is to wake up and get the coffee brewing. Usually, my sweet husband, Ken, brews for me. I did tell him early on in our relationship that the male makes coffee. It says so in the Bible because it says he brews. So he's taken that on very lovingly, and most times he will brew me some coffee. I do start the day sipping my coffee. We open the curtains, and I have this beautiful view, and I sit and watch the birds and the squirrels and the outside nature in my bed. I have this reverence for like waking up and staying right there in my bed for some reason. And I have all these books and things on the nightstand that I bring over into the bed, and they're usually spread out all over the bed. I do watch the news. I start the day off often like putting on a news show, getting the general sense of what's going on in the world, because I'm one of those people who uses the news as my prayer request. I watch it because I want to stay informed as a citizen of the world, but I also want to know where in the world do my prayers need to go. And usually that's where I feel the most concern, irritation, anger, pissosity, whatever it might be. I know then, okay, I need to pray about that. So I will.
Steve Ducey,
Yeah.
you have all my prayers. All my prayers, Steve Ducey.
So I will then allow that time to end and move into a quiet space where I do have a time where I just kind of sit in the silence, usually. Sometimes I feel really called to music, so I'll play a little music and maybe even chant a bit. But most often it's starting off in the silence and just getting still and feeling the day and just feeling the moment that I'm in. And then I do launch into, also like you, my prayer practices. I have a prayer partner, so I pray for her every day, knowing what's going on with her. I pray for family and friends, and I have a prayer list that I keep that I refer back to and keep dates of how long I'm praying for things that people have asked me to pray for. And so I'll do spiritual mind treatment for them. And then often I will pull one of those books out and read, or like you, journal. I have this great book that someone gave me. Honestly, now that I think about it, I might have bought it for myself. That is a bunch of writing practices and prompts that I've really been enjoying tremendously. So I've been opening it not every day, probably about every 3 or 4 days, because the writing prompts are very long. So it honestly depends on how much time I have. And if I have enough time to do my writing, I'll do that writing. And it's in the book by hand, which is unusual for me because, I'm a typer and I would prefer to type things, but I'm finding some joy in the typing. And that kind of gets the day started for me. There are other days, and part of what I talked about in my workshop is that because my life is different every day, I really do make space for if I have to get up really early and I don't want to or don't feel like taking time to start my day off. I intend to have my practice, and sometimes it will mean I come here to the office, do a meeting or two, and then I shut my door and I do my practice there. So I'm not disciplined enough or have a life that's as consistent enough that I can say I can do it every single day the same way. But I have an intention to do it. And like you, sometimes it's 3 minutes and sometimes it's an hour. Just depends on the time I have.
Well, what I love about everything that you're sharing is that it's really authentic. And that'd be one of the main pieces of advice that I would give to someone who's listening to this saying, how am I supposed to do it? Or I need to assume a holy position that's not my own.
Right.
And, it sounds, like all these things have come together that you know yourself, that you know your spirit, and you know how to cultivate it through all sorts of different things. And even, integrating the news, whatever it
Right.
may be, and the music. It sounds like it's very close to you, and there's something about that I think helps us feel closer to God too.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think there part of what we talked about in my workshop that I think is true for people with spiritual practice, which I appreciate about your practice too, is there's this phrase that says, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so it's important to know yourself, to know, am I the kind of person who thrives on a disciplined approach? And how I would know that is that my schedule is generally the same. I tend to like to do the same thing over and over again. And that person is going to be successful by creating a practice, I think, that is in alignment with that disciplined kind of way of being. But if there's someone like me who has a different schedule every day, it's setting the intention and then allowing oneself to find room in your schedule to say, okay, there's where I'm going to do my practice today because I couldn't do it first thing this morning for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I love that. And that would be another piece of advice I'd have to folks is, for me, just once in a while, spiritual practice is okay, but until it really becomes an everyday part of your life, it doesn't matter when, or where, or even the how, but just doing it. When for me to leave without doing my spiritual practice would be worse than not brushing my teeth,
Right. Yeah.
or having pants on. I was actually thinking about that Sunday night because there's I spoke on Sunday. There's always all these little things, and I really did isn't that amazing how I remember to put my pants on? It's just but there's so many little things to do to put together. But do you have any wisdom for someone who really wants to get a daily spiritual practice going, something to remember?
For me, the key for someone who's brand new is to give yourself permission to start small. Just like we're saying, maybe do 3 minutes of whatever you're called to do. Either listen to a song or set a timer and do 3 minutes and let that be okay. And do that for a while consistently, because my experience when I did that is that as I consistently did that, I yearned for more. And that was the indication, oh, it's time to up it. And so I upped it to 5, and then I upped it to 10. And then I found myself that I can now sit sometimes for hours in meditation and be very comfortable, be very still, be very mindful, don't feel distracted all over the place. But it took a long time for me to get that way. So I think people need to give themselves permission to start small. Just like if you wanted to run a marathon, you wouldn't go out and run 26 miles right away. You would work up to it. And I think people disappoint themselves, and so then they get frustrated that they can't meditate for an hour, or they can't do spiritual practice as long as they think they should, and so they just quit. Whereas I think success can happen in increments.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
What's your best advice?
I'll say 2 things. One is embrace your distractions.
That's very good.
Even that, and having a little girl, there's that part of me that can get in that battle. Oh, you're distracting me from my meditation, and that shouldn't be the right story. It's you're an alarm clock that's calling me back to now,
Right.
to do that. And so there's someone's going to be mowing outside. There's going to be construction. The phone is going to ring, and it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, but we use it to call us back present. And then I don't think I've articulated it this way before, but you have to move through the surface to get through the depth. And for those of us who are thinking a lot or busybodies, it's hard to drop right back in. And so, I have something I call it, oh shit meditation. And it's when I sit down, and it's actually a healthy thing. It's just my mind, because I'm finally quieting down, says, Josh, you forgot to do this yesterday. Or, hey, you're going to forget this if you don't write that down. And so I give myself the permission sometimes to have a pad of paper to just make that little note and then get back to center, because there's that part of me that's listening, or sometimes there's a feeling that comes up before I can feel connected. And it might be fear, or it might be hurt. And it's a sign, dummy, I mean that in the spiritual perfection sense, you need to acknowledge this feeling, but don't get caught in the surface. Don't let it be a tangent that keeps you from going deeper, because so often in life it's those surface thoughts that become almost a defense against the good ideas, the epiphanies, the spiritual awareness that is there if we go deeper and deeper within.
That's great advice. Yeah, I think having something to write thoughts down, if you know yourself to be a monkey mind thinker, or busy person. Makes perfect sense.
And I always say,
Just,
my problems usually have no problem waiting for me to return to them. If I
really,
just make that appointment. It's an exciting time. We're heading
it
into
is.
springtime here at Mile High Church. We have
Mm-hmm.
our spring renewal series. I'm excited about that. And you, I, and Roger are all sharing it. We're calling it the Wisdom of the
Yes.
Heart. And so that kicks off on the 19th, and
Mm-hmm.
people can go online and they can join a small group that has material around that. The groups are
Mm-hmm.
either on campus here or via Zoom. So sign up for one of those. They're totally free and a great way to connect with people.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got Easter Sunday. What do you
And we
got?
have Good Friday too.
Oh, we have Good
Dr.
Friday.
Barry can
Got
lead us on
crucifixion
Good
before
Yeah,
resurrection.
exactly. Yes, exactly. And then we are doing a beautiful Easter Sunday morning for sure. We're going to talk about.
What are you gonna talk about?
Well, I'm really going to talk about my journey with the experience of the cross and the whole image of Jesus on the cross, and how long that bothered me, and how I use that image to help me into a deeper understanding of the message of Easter, the eternal now, and how I'm using that to live my everyday life. And it's been an interesting story as a person who was raised in the Catholic tradition for a long time, and now as a New Thought religious science person. I've had a little dance with Easter that hasn't always been comfortable, and I don't think I'm the only one. So I'm looking forward to really sharing this message.
Great. It sounds like a powerful story. And you
Yeah.
mentioned the Good Friday service. It's
Yes.
some people's favorite service here because it's
They
a
are.
contemplative service.
Uh-huh.
Dr. Barry, who leads it, just brings so much heart. And the Jennifer singing, Tom singing. It's just a beautiful musical service with readings and time for quiet. And so it's a great time reflecting as we move from the darkness, we might say, into the light and the celebration of Easter. So we hope folks join us for that. Of course, it's taking place on campus, but they'll be online
Yes.
as well.
And you mentioned music on Easter. We don't want to forget that we have Lauren Sheely singing, one of our Mile High favorites. And then we've got Calvin Arsenio coming back.
He was a
The
big hit here in
harp
December,
player.
the harpist.
Yes, he was here.
The dreamy harpist.
Dreamy harpist. And it's going to be beautiful. Plus Tom Litch, of course.
Yeah, so it's
Our
going to
music
be
director.
it's going to be a great spring. And thanks for listening to us today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, Michelle.
Thanks, you too, Josh.
Take care, everybody.